our lecturers here, okay, and then distinguished, all the guests from UPM and also outside UPM. Okay. Today we will listen to a lecture by our guest speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Tajuddin Muhammad Rasli from UCSI University. Okay, this topic has been informed by our MC just now. It's about the rise of mainstream Islamic extremism in Malaysia, retracing the Islamic narratives in Malaysia towards conflict resolution. We also have two discussants today, both from our faculty, who will discuss and share their thoughts about the topic. Okay, this is this is actually this kind of we try to make it our discussion more critical, and also we will invite more ideas from others. Okay, I will introduce our discussion later. But first, let me introduce our guest speaker, which is actually as mentioned just now, coming from the UCSI University. Professor Dr. Muhammad Tajuddin Muhammad Rasli was an academic at a public university from 1987 to 2015. He was appointed to full professor in 2005 and retired in 2015. He is now currently professor at architecture at UCSI University in the Cheras campus. He was born in 1962 in Kepala Batas, Seberang Perai, and studied at St. Mark's School Primary Butterworth at Hua Lian Secondary School in Taipei. So I believe you can speak Mandarin. Okay, he obtained his Bachelor of Architectural Studies in 1984 and his Masters of Architecture in 1986, both from the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, USA. He was conferred the Doctor of Philosophy from the University of Edinburgh, Scotland in 1996. Professor Tajuddin is a prolific writer with 15 books published and hundreds of media articles in the Utusan, Newsweek's Time, Free Malaysia Today, Malaysia Kini, Malaysian Insider, Malaysian Insight, Sinchu Daily, The Star, and the Borneo Post, where he was a columnist in most of these newspapers and portals. He fiercely believed in democracy, okay, with adab of good manners, and in respecting other faiths as brotherhood joined in spirituality. As a Muslim, he joins few scholars and activists to explain and encourage an Islam from the Prophet Muhammad, pathway of moderation, compassion, and acceptance. His latest book are Architecture and Nation Building, Multiculturalism and Democracy, published by Penguin Singapore, and Not the Islam I Know, published by ZI Publication. For your information, I think this book is actually sold at the back. You can buy from their sister at the back. Alright, so that is actually briefly about, I'm sure that he has a very long CV actually, but it's only the brief about him.
Thank Dr. Sarjit Singh for arranging this talk. I would like to inform that this is the first time I am delivering this talk at a university, and this is the first university that I'm talking about and talking at. I haven't even delivered it at UCSI University. Most of the time I talk about this topic with Chinese communities, with Penang Institute, and also with many NGOs like Gabungan Bertindak Malaysia. And my next few talks will be at Gerak Budaya and relaunching my work in Singapore, where Institute of Interfaith is organizing it. So today I would like to share these thoughts. Usually when I come to university, I'm so-called expert in architecture, professor of architecture obviously lah, and expert in so-called Islamic architecture or mosque architecture. But today something strange is happening, because I am going to talk about something that I'm not an expert in. So this discussion must bear with me, because I am not a school in political Islam, nor in politics or political science. But I feel that there is a need to bring forward this discourse of understanding narrative of Islam towards conflict resolution, because those who are actually expert in political science are not coming up, they are not stepping up, and I wonder why. Now, one hypothesis would be that they don't care, the other could be that they are also part of a certain narrative, and so that is even more disconcerting. So today I would like to just give my thoughts, because I have gone through these periods of Islamic narrative, of Hakim, of Ikram, of PAS, where I am not a member of any of them in a sense of being committed member, but simply mixing with these people, because they are my friends, most of them, and I thought that this understanding is important, and certainly it is when I speak to non-Muslims who only understand Islam as Islam. So when they have problems with Islam, they think all Islam is bad. And so today, I would like to so if you were to look at the screen, the issues is about Islam seeming to become a destructive force in nation building, which is supposed to be not doing that. But it's becoming a destructive force with the other communities. Mainstream Islam's narrative is moving towards what I term extremism, and I was talking to one of the discussants. I do not define extremism as people bombing or shooting people, but I define extremism to a very serious extent when people start calling people kafir, and I don't think that's correct. And to me that is already extreme, very extreme. I don't want until somebody shoots someone, that is extreme. I don't think we should do that. Many Malays, and I always repeat this to the non-Malays, they say that they are embracing the extremist narrative without knowing it. They are innocent of any malice or any kind of dengki or hasad. They just think that they are being educated or conditioned in a manner that they didn't realize that they were part of a narrative which is can be considered extremist. Now, the non-Muslim obviously fears the presence of Islam and the religion and wants it to be separated. And in my civil society group, there is strong feelings, not only among non-Muslim, but certain Muslim or Malays, like we call them, who do not want Islam to be part of the political process or the nation-building aspect. And I'm here one of the very few Islamic reformists. I consider myself an Islamic reformist, even though I don't. I'm not a member of Hakim or Ikram. So my question then to them is that if you fight against Islam, then there will be no end to it. But the best is to understand the various narratives, and that there is one actual narrative that is something which is compatible with our nation-building efforts. Now, my work, in a sense, not because of Dr. Mahathir, but Mahathir has already said something about looking at ourselves. And I have always believed, even before Mahathir said that if you point a finger at someone, there are three fingers pointing back at you. So I think in all conflict, when my wife and I argue against our children, we always try to look at what is it that we did wrong, rather than always blaming the children. Although of course they have certain things that they have done. But the point here is that I said we are more mature than that. So we must mengalah dululah, kita kata, something like that. Okay. So the message that I want to bring today is that Islam is going to be here for a long time. You cannot wish away to the non-Muslim and to the so-called certain Malay groups in my civil society, and that reformist Islam is still the best solution. But which one? They don't know which is, and that's why the reason that I have put up the book. Mainstream Islamic narrative that is turning extremist is a product of social, educational, and political factors. I can give a PhD on this aspect of social. I can give a PhD on the aspect of educational, but I only give a master's on the aspect of political. So it is. Okay. Islam is both being used for a narrow political agenda as well as a mainstream narrative that is narrowly interpreted. Now, for some groups, maybe like FAS or UMNO, using it as a kind of leverage for their vote, I'm not interested. I mean that one is very obvious. You can see it from afar. That doesn't interest me. What interests me is this mainstream Islam of innocent people that goes to mosque every day, comes home, have all this, do all this, and they become part of that narrative without them understanding that they are part of it. And one of the biggest culprits are the penceramah masjid. Although they are good intentioned people, but the methodology of communication, the structure or the frame of what they are using, the kitab of whole, devoid of the construct of constitutional understanding. Yes, you may disagree and say LGBT is berdosa. Yes, you can say alkohol tu macam orang kata apa berdosa juga. But under the constitution, you nak jadi LGBT tu you punya hal lah. Okay, you nak minum alkohol pun itu satu isu yang lain juga. You nak ada Oktoberfest, tak apalah, janganlah cause accident dan sebagainya. Itu saja. So I think the penceramah, although good intention, they do not understand this constitutional construct. To them, Islam means from the kitab, and the kitab defines Islam, even though the kitab is 600 years old. I mean, that is the truth sampai bila-bila pun. And when we have muftis or religious officers who do not have degree, say in Fakulti of Ekologi, Manusia, then we got problem. Okay? I mean, this is a real problem. Okay? And I'll write one article about to start having to go and do masters and PhD at Fakulti Ekologi Manusia. Okay? So I'm not worried about PAS and UMNO. These people, itu dia punya kerja dia. Okay, I'm not worried about that. Okay, and the problem is two yang I'm worried about. Number one is academia. That is the real worry to me, and it's a closing game already. Okay, I already know the culture of academia, and it's a losing game which I have been written about, and there is no change, I think. So I asked my civil society group, look, the politician cannot do anything. Pakatan Harapan people, Mujahid Rawa, Mazli Malik, they are all good intention. They are my friends, but they are trapped in this narrative. I'm not giving excuses. It's real. The trap is real. So they say macam ni, kena bantai. They say macam ni pun kena bantai. So they can't move, right? So I told civil society group, look, we have to move. Okay. Recently, our group went to Waita Murti and said, look, can we work with you and we rebuild the country with you? Using the Ministry of Unity, the most unimportant ministry in the whole ministries. Well, maybe Sukan is not that important juga lah, but I think the Unity lagi bawah daripada Sukan. But that's never mind. He said that we don't have the budget to pay you guys. He said, don't care about budget. We do it because we are concerned about our children and grandchildren. Okay? So this is what we have to do. And I was hoping that academia would be a very strong force rewrite the narrative of the country, but I'm afraid that is just a fantasy. Now, look at this. Look at this. Okay? This happened not 15 years ago, not 20 years ago. It happened 2 or 3 years ago. Now, I don't know. There are Muslims dekat sini kan semua ni. Adakah you all, walaupun you marah dengan si Lim Guan Eng or Lim Kit Siang or anybody, would you say something like this? Cina babi pendatang elok mata. Would you say something like that? You would say something. I said, tak tekam lah kita nak cakap macam tu. Okay, the Prophet taught. Kalau you baca buku apa nama Imam Ghazali, Ihya Ulumuddin, dia tertib bencana lisan ada 25 ke 26. One of them is mengata sesuatu yang orang tak suka dengar. Okay, so I don't know where these people learn Islam from, but I do know actually it's from mosque. Okay, from the penceramah. People like say certain people saying Cina berak tak menyuci, something like that. You have this kind of people saying like this. Although I think the person is good, but then cara cakap, cara communication tu tak bertempat dalam suasana constitutional construct. Even adab construct. Then we have this mufti yang kata kafir harbi kepada DAP, dan saya kata macam mana boleh cakap macam tu. You see, the way this person speak is from a 300 or 400 year old kitab who only distinguish Muslims from kafir. Dua tu je. And I will show you what Fadil Noor says. Sidi Fadil says about nation and Islam. Okay, so jadi recently lagi kita tengok ada yang mengatakan tentang jihad, using the word jihad semudah-mudah itu. I mean, what caused me the thing? Okay, kita tak tahu, we don't know, but I can sense why it happened, because certain politician wants to become popular in some party politik. You nak jadi presiden, nak jadi timur you kena jadi kurang hajar. Kalau you tak kurang hajar, you tak akan naik pangkatnya lah, I can tell you. Okay, and so the modus operandi is to be like that, to be gah, to be macam hulu balang or something like that, the champion of the sultan or something like that. But the use of the word jihad against Malaysian, I don't know, and then nobody is stepping up to the plate, especially from academia. Fakulti Ekologi tak ada orang pun cakap rasanya. I mean, what is this? Okay, and then kafir. Now, yelah, Tajuddin cakap, kata tak boleh cakap kafir, tak apalah, Tajuddin tu profesor, kata what the hell does he know about Islam? Okay lah, I can accept that. Nick Aziz, some people kata Nick Aziz tu, mengacau. But Nahdlatul Ulama, that's it. Kafir tu tak boleh kita gunakan kepada orang yang bukan Islam. But what does our mufti say? Tak apa. Tak apa. Pakai macam tu tak apa. Biasa aja lah. You know, I used to read this in Facebook, in ni kan commenting on my kata, Tajuddin ni dia tak tahu, he doesn't know yang kita ni bermusuh dengan orang kafir dalam negara. I mean, okay lah, tu orang-orang kedai kopi lah, apa semua, tak apa. Tapi when a mufti says that, what message is it sending to us as a people? Okay, I don't know about you lah, tapi saya rasa malu lah sebagai Muslim, because I've read 20,000 hadis from Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidzi. I've read because I wanted to understand Islam. That's why I wrote my book, not the Islam I know. I'm not saying that the mufti is wrong. I'm just saying that if you cakap macam tu within a construct yang kita dalam negara ni, dah bukan di Mesir ke di Saudi Arabia ke, kalau cakap Saudi mungkin tak apa, but not in Malaysia. Takkan you tak ada cara alas just because you are protected by the Sultan. You can say anything under the sun. And if you read the khutbah, I read 200, 300 khutbah, they are all good intention, but the method of writing though, I have so much to say. The method, the content, but as I said, they are all good intention, but their method is out of date, tidak bertempat, tidak tidak ada semasa. So jadi we want something like this, some social event bersama dekat masjid with the non-Muslim. Masjid Abu Bakar invited the non-Muslim Chinese New Year. Somebody bantu orang yang banjir dekat Penang, tapi dia kena hentak yang banyak lah. Okay, kita ni lebih mensucikan masjid daripada nak membantu orang. Saya pun tak tahulah belajar mana Islam tu, saya kata tu. Jadi itu yang saya kata, antara sunnah Melayu dan sunnah Rasul. Okay. Sunnah Melayu ni you learn from Malaysia. Okay. Now I would like to now quote a few words from Sidi Fadil, which I went to a talk after he was just after the election. He was nominated, he was awarded the Tokoh Mahal Hijrah, and he said very interesting thing that I pun terpegun, because I thought all these Islamists and Ustad, they have this kind of thinking, but I was very surprised of what he says about nation building and Islam. He said, among other things, he said, persaudaraan seagama, ukhuwah diniyah, persaudaraan. And we also have to be persaudaraan setanah air, ukhuwah wataniyah. He used the word saudara. and persaudaraan kemanusiaan, ukhuwah insaniyah. No, tuan-tuan, what do you mean by persaudaraan insaniyah? Is it marching peaceful rally macam hari tu dengan Mujahid because of the Christchurch shooting? Is it standing up silent for 1 minute in Parliament because of the Christchurch shooting? I kata, what about the Orlando shooting? What about the Manchester bombing? What about the Nice, langgar orang sampai 60 orang nanti? Oh, yang tu tak kira sebab Orlando tu semua gay. Manchester tu dia bawa pergi concert. Is that it? Where is the persaudaraan insaniyah? And I tried dalam kutubah tak sebut benda-benda ni. When something happen like this, only bila it happens to orang Islam baru kita sebut insaniyah. Apa kita? Jadi itu yang saya katakan, Islam yang mana ni tak tahulah. Okay, I would like to think that I am wrong, but then the evidence from the hadith of what I have read, it doesn't point that way. The Prophet was kind to all people, even orang yang mencaci dia. And the bukti was when he went to Mecca, dia maafkan semua, betul tak? And when he went to Mecca, did he kill anybody? Did he kill anybody? Abu Sufyan, keluarga dia, tak ada. Okay? In fact, Wahsi yang mana bunuh Hamzah pun cuma dia tak apa nak salam sangat lah. Orang tu kata, you wait a few days lah, then only you jumpa Prophet. Sebab yang tu dia tak sanggup, tapi dia buat juga lah. That is to the extent of the Prophet. If you read the hadith and follow the Prophet, insyaAllah I think we have a good Islam and nation building. The problem is you don't read the Malays and the Muslim. They like to hear ustaz. Okay, and this is the problem with Syed Fadil also said kita tidak boleh guna perkataan kafir harbi atau kafir zimmi because this represents a different construct of Islam yang mana berperang dengan bukan Islam. Dahulu berperang, berbunuh-bunuh, itu lain. We are in one nation. We have different faith and different cultures. So kita tak boleh macam tu. So tu saya seronok bila baca tu because I don't think anybody will believe me, but then maybe you would believe Sidi Fadzil. He also said that kemuliaan insan adalah kurnia Tuhan, yang bererti Tuhan sendiri yang memuliakan manusia, dan kerana itu tidak siapa pun yang berhak menghina manusia. Okay, so kita tak boleh lah buat macam tu, ya. Baru-baru ni Khairi Jamaluddin pergi cakap, dengar tak Taliban pada orang yang kata the speaker. Yelah, Nakor pun cakap pas dengan UMNO nak jadi Taliban. Itu satu hal juga, I so don't agree. But just because someone did something doesn't mean that you balah balik. Jadi dia justify, oh you panggil dulu, now I panggil you. This is a member of parliament. Masa Bung Mohtar yang selalu mencarut tu, ya, after the election, bila Bung Mohtar mencarut, I tulis, lepas tu barulah speaker say, siapa baca tu tarik gaji dia 2-3 bulan something like that. Okay, so ingat Khairi nak jadi progresif, tapi tengok-tengok tak juga, ya. Sidi Fadil juga last kali kata kesediaan dialog yang sihat dan produktif hanya mungkin terlaksana jika didasari kesediaan menerima orang lain, dan bukan hanya orang lain tetapi orang lain yang berbeza. So, saya pun heran lah dalam negara ni. Saya kata politik kenegaraan, tuan-tuan, bagi saya paling senang sekali. It's so easy. I'm sorry, ada orang international tak ada pun, dia cakap Melayu ada, sorry carried away with my Penang punya logat. Okay, it's easy. Politik of the country is very easy. Politik with your wife or your children is the most difficult you will ever face. Itu selalu saya kata, masa when we got married, my wife and I, we agree on only 5%. 95% gaduh the next 5 years or 6 years. Now 34 years have passed. I'm proud to say that we agree on 8%. So 92% masih lagi tak setuju, still don't agree. But why is it that we still stay together? Because we learn to accept, you know, the things that, I mean, women, you know, kalau baju tu, baju keluarga lain, baju kerja lain, baju ni lain, baju, I mean, they have 5-6 different baju for something. It took me many years to understand what kind of a philosophy is that. Until dah 30 tahun baru,
Standard of life.
so dia kata nak beli baju terus bawa, tak ada isu lagi dah. Okay, I still don't agree, but then that's what she wants. Okay, jadi macam tu. So I mean, that's the most difficult thing. If you say you cannot live dengan orang yang berbeza, then you shouldn't get married. Okay, if you get 5 children who are adults, lagi banyak dia punya isu yang kita kena, we have to deal with. So nation building is very easy. Politics of a nation is very easy to me. The problem with us is that we don't have a critical mind. We don't read, we don't think. We listen to people who we say, ini ustaz, so he knows better. Ini Tun M, he's 93. Must be he knows something lah. Okay? I mean, we are all manusia. We have to depend on each other. Okay? So, menghormati perbezaan. Now, today I just want to go, briefly in all this contents about Islam, the 60s, Islam, the 70s, very, very short, because as I said, I'm not a scholar in this. Mahathir Anwar Islamic combo, the Reformasi era. The Reformasi era is the most interesting, okay? Najib Extremism era, and then the UMNO PAS combo sekarang ni lah. Now, Islam was in the 60s Piramli, was part of what I call Malay culture and cultural Islam. Jadi you know that Tunku Abdul Rahman pun dia ada Western ways. I think they know. Did you know that in Parliament building, the top tu, I was told by the Parliament punya building manager, used to be a bar. Okay, drinking. If you read Singapore story by Lee Kuan Yew, he explained. He wasn't trying to be mean. He was just saying drinking and all this kind of thing. So my father also was a policeman. He drank beer, okay, but not in the house. My mother won't allow it, but that was part of life. You tengok cerita Piramli pun, anak bapa dia tak cakap lah arak kan, tapi it was in the nightclub, that sort of thing kan. But I love Piramli punya movies, okay. But the point here is that Islam was not part of politics. It was just a cultural Islam, and that's my question. Banyak daripada from the non-Malays asking me this kind of thing. So race and religious mixing was never an issue, and party like PAS has had no foothold. So the first narrative is that you want to be a Muslim, tunggu pencen lah. Once you pencen, then you go to mosque, you do all these things. Like my father, who walked to the mosque after he retired, and went to Hajj and this sort of thing. So this was the cultural Islam. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that was how it was. When you have time, you pray. You don't have time, you don't pray. That sort of thing. Okay. But then came the 70s, and then this idea about this ABIM and this group, which not many people know, called the IRC, which later on became the Jemaah Islam Malaysia, and Ikram later on, began to have this idea. And in 1980, I went to the United States. Okay, I actually learned a lot of Islam in the United States. Okay, so I read Maududi's book. I even listened to 200 Hadi Awan's cassettes. These are my teachers of Islamic reform. And the basic idea was that Islam is not tunggu you pencet. Islam is now. Islam is when you bagi makan your anak with a niat, and you kerja also with a niat, and you kerja and you do all sort of things. Is ibadah. It's not just prayer. And there is the book like Maududi's book and Syahri Sunggil Abu Urwah. I read all sort of things, and these are the narrative that was propagated. Now, strangely enough, none of this narrative that I listened, I listened to 200 cassette, from Hadi Awang. He never mentioned anything against non-Muslim, and he never mentioned much about hudud and all these things. It's all about changing your value system, changing the way that you you do your work and things like that. So it's a very interesting aspect, and I got on board as a Islamic reformist because I thought, well, that was the true Islam, and that's where I began to read hadith, and I began to read all the while. I also read the Hindu text, the Buddhist text, the Bible. I read all of them when I was in the United States. And there was still no issue of race and religious tension. There's none. And in the conventions that I've gone to, we don't talk about all these things either. Okay? So then Mahathir took on Anwar Ibrahim. Okay? We call it the Mahathir Anwar Islam combo. And I think Mahathir and Anwar have two different ideas about Islam, but both using each other lah. I mean, people using people in politics is better. I'm not using it in a negative sense. What I understand is that Anwar wanted to give the Malays a different idea about value system rather than just being Malay. So he wanted to move to this universal value construct, but first of all giving this Islamic value system, because Islam dia tak kira you race mana ke, you know, it is raceless. Okay, you cannot look at someone because they're China, they're India. You know, you have to get away from that, and that's what he did, or attempt to do. Alright. Mahathir is a practical man. He saw that Islam was everywhere, the Iranian Revolution. So he simply went with the wave, you know, and then he uses Anwar and so the image of Islam to put past at bay. And that is how he has done it. Okay, so Islamic narrative, you can see Putrajaya, and because Mahathir wanted to project himself, I think as a Muslim leader of the world, and so that's why the grandeur of all this thing. And if you read my writing about Islamic architecture, I don't agree that there is Islamic architecture. Okay, so Anwar's effort in fusion started reformization of Malay social, political and education. Again, I don't, masa time tu there was no issue about race or religion that I went through this era. What was the problem was Malays against Malays, you know, all this UMNO and all this thing, and the Mamali incident and that's all. Malays dengan Malays. That's why I wrote in one article about dakwah, when people attack Mazli Malik about dakwah. I said the only dakwah I know is that what we did. I was also in the Tabligh group. I was never in the Arkam group, but then I knew about it, and we are reminding each other, the Malays and the Malays. Itu saja. Never have I gone to a Chinese, come lah masuk Islam. I couldn't be bothered with it because that's not my job. Okay, dakwah is reminding, and then if a non-Muslim wants to know, which I have spoken in churches before, then I just give the information. That's all there is. So dakwah to me mostly was reminding Muslim about what the better Islam is in terms of the Prophet's way. So if you read ASEAN Renaissance, if I ask you whether you have read ASEAN Renaissance, I don't think anybody would put up their hand lah. Okay, but I read it cover to cover, and I saw Anwar's punya value system of Islam synonymous with all the other religious punya value system. But Anwar doesn't speak about that now because he will be buried by Bas and UMNO by saying that he's liberal, because the word liberal is now dirty word. Moderate, that is also another word. So Anwar's moderate or Democrat, that's going to be a dirty word, the Muslim Democrat. Okay. So when I talk to my friends who used to know religion better than me from SPM and all that, they don't understand when I talk about Islam and modernity, Islam and democracy, because I read all these books. They stop reading. They after Form 5 they stop reading. They dah faham baca doa and all that, and then now they go for Hajj and all that, and then they say, what are you talking about in your writing? Okay, why are you giving face to all this non-Muslim kacau-kacau Islam? And we get less invitation to go to Kenduris now also because of my writings. So Islamic narrative, the new Malay narrative should not be about race supremacy, and I don't know of any I've never heard about this hudud being mentioned. Maybe it is somewhere, I don't know, but it is not that I'm aware of. Okay, so we're looking at Islam as a civilizational force rather than following textually what is it that some other people understand as what Islam is supposed to be. Now, during that time, PAS, of course, have been consistent with their narrative of changing the constitution. APIM did not say anything about changing the constitution. But PAS, I think, wanted to change the constitution to make the Quran and to be the main source and things like that. Again, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm saying this is their narrative. This is their own way of thinking. So allegiance, surprisingly, is to the ulama, not to the Prophet. And that's why I hear people when this corruption with PAS, don't question the leader, things like that. I think something's not correct there. So all aspects of traditional Islamic laws and Sharia must be implemented, okay? And non-Muslims, and we hear a statement like musuh Islam, that you cannot elect non-Muslim as a leader of anything. Kurusah tak boleh, ketua daerah tak boleh, apa lagi, semua lah, dekan tak boleh, okay, sebab tu ada dekan Melayu kan, so Sarkit Singh tu tak boleh lah jadi dekan, okay, because it's un-Islamic kan. So I mean that is a narrative of but I'm sure dekan kita ni is well fitted lah kan, bukan meritokrasi kan. So the Reformasi era is a very interesting era. When I talk to non-Muslim, I think we got non-Muslim here, and non-Muslims are always, when I confront them, they are very worried and they really don't like Islam because of a lot of things. But then I remind them, did you know that the Reformasi era was carried by Islam for 20 years? You see, when Anwar got sacked, the first people to came was Fazil Noor and PAS. And PAS was the power behind the Reformasi era, with Mujahid, with all this progressive, which later on got kicked out. But that time, they were the power behind it. Of course, Abim and Jim was also having it. But basically, it's safe to say that the civil civil society dissent began and carried by Muslim and by Islam to show that Islam has the force of civilizing. Okay, so if you notice the first two elections, the non-Muslims carried Barisan Nasional. Okay, basically they survived with the non-Muslim vote. So when non-Muslim criticize Islam, this is what I say, that the civil society group like Bersih and all that came much later. Okay, like it or not, I'm sorry to say, but I'm happy to say actually, not sorry, that Islam was the one that carried the thing. Now until PAS kicked out the progressive, and now PAS is a whole different entity altogether. Not the PAS that I know. You actually write another book, Not the PAS that I know. Okay. So I was not a PAS member, but I was supported with money, with all these things, you know. And I talked to Bin Aziz about Islamic architecture, and my special branch file was already begun way back when I was in public university. So the Anwar's case was framed in a narrative of institutional collapse as well as melanggar adab Islam. Okay, so then the civil society rose. The Islamic narrative, one of the Islamic narrative that grew from there was this by Farouk Musa, which is by far the most radical, and I used to be growing up to the idea that the Quran should take over the constitution. But then when somebody pointed out who's going to interpret the Quran and the constitution yang baru ni, and I saw the ulama, like these people who are not trained in social science, and the things they say are quite disturbing lah. Macam the mufti saying patung halang pun tak boleh, susah lah macam ni kan. And then you get Ustaz Azhar Idrus kan, orang wanita tak boleh bercakap dengan orang lelaki kecuali ada intention untuk kahwin. Macam ni, you know, I mean, So I said that you jadi arkitek, kena kerja arkitek perempuan, firm semua perempuan, dan go to the construction site, semua kerja dia kena perempuan. Okay, Bangladesh tu yang kita tengok tu kena perempuan semua. Jadi macam mana nak buat kerja macam ni kan? So we have that kind of thing, and then Farouk Musa introduced a different idea of what secularism is. I always thought secularism is also a dirty word, but now to me it's different. Secularism does not mean non-belief in God. It simply means in a parliamentary system you are allowed to believe in whatever you want to believe, and then when we come we just discuss. That's all it is. So it allows all this belief, as opposed to somebody saying a theocracy where no, satu je yang betul, yang lain semua kena ikut je lah. Okay, so these are the thing. So now Muslims are struggling with this idea. I mean, Islam tu kan betul, then how come pula dia tak boleh jadi ni? I mean, this is the product of the Islamic reformation. I'm going to write an article about where is the Islamic reformist. Okay, because the early Islamic reformists did not really talk much about all this potong tangan and all that sort of thing. But then where are they now? Okay, so these are some of the things that I have to question. Now, of course, Najib, when he came to power and saw that he was not able to influence the people, he was the one who let loose what is called Islamic extremism by his apa lagi, Cina Mao. Now, Najib is a very suave individual. He doesn't do things, he let others do. So he just stay back and then let Perkasa, Isma, take the narrative in a certain way, and then he steps in when he thinks he wants to step in, that sort of thing. So when Perkasa and Isma took the streets about the Bible burning and all this thing, so they created this narrative of Islam under threat. Okay, and the Malays under threat. And baru-baru ni I was so happy, one of my most unfavourite politician, Daim Zainudin, mentioned this in UTM Skudai. You read about it. He said that what is this Malay siege narrative? What is this insulting Islam? Islam is great. Allah is great. What's the big deal about it? I mean, is Malay being threatened? So this is a narrative that we created. Now, as I said, I'm not afraid of Bekasa or Isma or Khairi Jamaluddin or Tajuddin Abdul Rahman or you. I'm not afraid of them. But I am afraid of hate teachers passing on information and not having a critical judgment about this thing. That is what I'm afraid of. I am afraid academics who are silent. Silent because they agree ataupun what? This is more. I'm more afraid of that. Politician kita jangan takutlah. Okay, we have the power of voting. But what we worry is for our community, ourselves. This is the thing. What is the critical aspect of thinking? On the one hand, at the university you teach to be critical, but when you come into Islam, you totally not critical. You tak boleh critical, nanti dia menyeleweng ataupun dia menyimpang. You must listen to the ustaz. I think there's something wrong there. So State Religious Department saw the result. So Jakim was used. Jakim was supposed to be good because it tries to mediate between all this State Religious Department punya view. Takkanlah kita nak ada sampai sebelah view, I mean susah lah juga. So I thought Jakim was good, but then dia pula jadi witch hunter. Okay, to propagate this idea about Islam under threat. Kalau orang tu do something sikit-sikit saja dah jadi satu isu besar. Okay, for instance, this person who allowed some people to pray in the surau of a resort, which is the surau is his own surau or a room that he designated as surau, and then he allowed some Buddhist monk to meditate, and then jadi isu besar. Okay, and that person, the owner of the resort, was put in prison for I think 5 days. As soon as he closed prison, he closed the resort, went back to Singapore, never came back. So I said, what's wrong with him creating this? Number one, it is not a surau majlis agama. It is his. It is a room that he converted. Number two, what's wrong with having non-Muslim in the mosque? Is there anything wrong with having non-Muslim in the mosque? Siapa sini kata wrong? Kalau wrong, then you have to answer to the Prophet Muhammad who allowed 60 Najran Christians in his mosque to discuss about religion, and then he let them off. Well, they didn't convert to Islam. So, sunnah Melayu and sunnah Rasul. If you knew that, then you would not listen to people like this ustaz propagating, tengok mereka ni mengotorkan masjid. Listen to this kind of thing. What for? Okay, in the akhirat, God will ask, why did you say this Cina babi and all that sort of thing? Well, I was following the ustaz, and Allah would call ustaz. What is your defense? Well, yes lah, I said that, but he has PhD. Don't you? Why didn't he read and he defend himself that way? So in the akhirat, you cannot blame people. Your decision is your own. Okay, tak boleh nak blame. Okay? So that is why my worry. So the Islam on the track was created, and if we trace 3-4 years back, so many issues about Rachel Rally, the Loyak incident, church burnings, the Taman Austin incident, yang hempuk kepala orang Cina tu because apa, dia horn because of the mosque congestion during Friday prayers. Muslim look at me, yalah he horn. I said, yalah, sesatkan jalan kita semayang kat Tuhan, tak apalah, mana boleh macam tu, you know. Don't mix you semayang dengan you congest the street. I kata orang Islam ni pun satu hal. Tak boleh ke wanita-wanita jadi traffic warden dekat situ? You pernah jadi traffic warden masa semayang ni wanita kat sini kan? Banyak pahala kalau buat macam tu, you know. I mean, simple kan? Oh tak apa, kita semayang Tuhan. Macam mana ni? So even Asri dan Awidin tegur, you tak boleh lah buat macam tu. So Islamic narrative of state religious department is a problem to me. Okay, and this is a very quote-unquote difficult problem to talk about because state religious department is under Sultan. Anything you say, you can be charged with sedition, and that is very difficult for us. But what is my problem with state religious department? My problem with state religious department, as I said, they are all good people. They are there to order Islam in a certain way for all us to live in a very simple and orderly manner. But the problem with these people is they are arrogant, and also they think they know everything. Okay? Or they can talk about architecture, they can talk about law, they can talk about this and they can talk about that. Other people cannot talk. And that is why the book Breaking Silence by G25 was banned. I said, why was it banned? Under Zahid Hamidi gitu. Yeah, because the religious people said that all of these people are not ustaz yang tulis dalam buku tu. Siapa dia? Mazli Malik. Siapa dia? Syah Sari Faruqi. All these scholars tak boleh cakap pasal Islam because tak ada tauliah agama. Itu satu. Dia ada reason. Dia mengacau bilau society. I think kalau you tak nak strange ideas or controversial idea, then you tutuplah universiti. Semua dipanggil College Putra Malaysia, not University Putra Malaysia. Because lagi ada university, there must be controversial ideas, like what I'm saying now lah. So if you say, oh Tajuddin controversial idea tak boleh masuk universiti, dia tutup lah. There is no society that have never had controversial ideas that did not grow. Tidak. Grow with controversial idea. And who is the most controversial? Nama dia Muhammad bin Abdullah. Ousted by his society. So very controversial benda-benda yang dia bawa. Just because something is controversial, it doesn't mean that it is bad. And when society begins to question itself, that's where it grows. And that's where it grows. Ini stagnan aja, nak grow. It's not encouraged interpret. So state religious think that they are the only people yang understand Islam, and that they are the ones yang saya susah lah nak accept bila at the end of khutbah dan kita harus jangan dengan Syiah, dengan Ahmadiyah, dengan all these things. I mean, I've been to Iran. I talk to these people and I interact with them and all that. I tak sanggup nak panggil these people kafir or musuh Islam. They still pray 5 times a day. Correct or not? Some people say, but we only hear the azan 3 times a day. Iyalah, sebab dia tunggu, kalau Zuhur tu dia tunggu hujung Zuhur, you know, and then dia semayang, lepas tu asar, bila masuk waktu asar. So dia bang sekali je lah masa tu, jimat sikit masa dia nak kena travel sana sini kan. So yang maghrib tu dia hujung maghrib dengan early isyak. Kalau you tak tahu lah, saya pun tak tahu masa tu. I didn't know, 3 kali je. Then somebody explain, oh like that is it. So jadi selagi dia semayang 5 kali tu, saya pun tak berani lah nak cakap kata dia tu salah. I pun baca, I have also books, kononnya Syiah books like hadis compilation of Imam Ali lah, apa semua disorder. I read. Why should I trust somebody who say, you ni dah betul-betul Syafi'i, why you want to go? I mean, that's critical thinking, kan? Okay, I'm being bred as a critical thinker, not because there was some people saying that you cannot use logic in order to susah lah macam tu. So kata you celek mata je tak boleh soal lah. You are Syafi'i and then you mati pun Syafi'i, macam tu kan? Is that how we're going to live in Malaysia? Just because State Department sini Syafi'i, dan Syafi'i je lah. But State Department tak faham that Ahmadiyya or Syiah have a right to exist within the construct of the Constitution. Nak besok keluar surat khabar, Tajudin support Syiah and Ahmadiyya. Okay, it doesn't mean that I believe in their system. It's just that I hormat them. I have Iranian student as my PhD student, and I think some of you also have Iranian student. And so bila dia jadi student boleh pula. And so I don't understand this kind of thing. So they also does not encourage personal interpretation of religious texts. Jadi what if I were to say membina menara masjid is wasteful, and to the point that even the Prophet tak bagi benda tu. What would you say? Oh, you ni sedition ni, apa benda sedition? You look at architecture perspective, what is the role of the menara and all that if you analyze? You don't really need it. Okay, so dekat Johor, you cannot build a dome if you are Gurdwara. Tak, Gurdwara tu yang Sikhnya tu tak boleh, sebab it's only for masjid. Belajar mata ni saya kata. So we are creating things for people to hate Islam. Itu yang Mahathir kata, you have to look into yourself. Why people don't like Islam so much? I don't like Donald Trump sangat, but then some of the things he says about Muslim I cannot deny, because I read the things and I listen to the lectures by Muslims, American like Bilal Phillips and all that. I kata macam susah lah. Okay, so alright, coming to the end, Islamic narrative, we have people like Isma, okay, who appears only bila ada kontroversi. So Isma ni aku tak tahu kerja dia pun, kontroversi je. So bila ada banjir tak nampak pula dia. So that narrative is to create the idea of Islam under threat, and I don't see them to be doing anything else constructive. They're always commenting this and commenting that, all in a negative perspective. Okay, so I think well, in a democracy you can do that, that's fine. As long as you don't say let's kill people, then anything you say is okay. We can listen. Now the state religious narrative of conservatism in the state of okay, so there are 3 main narrative now that we have to be content with. The Mujahid Rawah, Anwar Mazli, Rahmatan lil Alamin, these are the so-called Islamic reformists. Then we have the state religious department, and then we have the UMNO PAS punya alliance. These are the 3 different narratives in this country. I told the non-Muslim, you have no choice, these are the 3 that you have to look at. But when some of them say no, we don't want to have any narrative at all, itu susah lah. Kalau you nak buat macam tu, it's going to be not only non-Muslim, but there are people like my colleague Siti Kasim who disagree with me. But then I respect her because she's helped a lot of women and all that, and I said tak apa lah, you asal macam tu, you try lah kata. Okay, then so these 3 are the narrative that we as citizens of this country must understand. Now I have no problem with UMNO dengan PAS, as I said to many people. We have to look at UMNO or entity as a historical thing, as well as the present thing. Now, historically, UMNO has been a very good party. It was the one that did the dasar ekonomi baru, which led me to go overseas. MCA pun bagus, saya kata, sebab dia agree to what UMNO has said on this day, and therefore we have to admit that they were good. PAS also very good, reformasi dan sebagainya. So I think, but then when the leaders change their perspective, then we have to relook lah. So but we don't blame UMNO ke PAS in that regard. We have to be very clear on that. So I think the step towards conflict resolution is that coming to my final slides, Anwar Muslim Mujahid Trio must change the education construct of Islam. Yang ini dia tak buat because as I said they are trapped. Muslim scholars and academics must come out of their seminar halls and engage the Malays head-on in ceramah at mosque and media. Where are they? Why are they not coming out? Dekat apa? National Islamic University itu bersepah-sepah this kind of people yang lebih pandai dari saya, and ISTAC and IKIM. But where are these people when issue of kafir, issue of jihad, issue of this thing, where are they? Okay, Ustaz under the PH in Education University must be retrained towards a more civilizational construct, more social science. Somebody said, Ustaz ni kena di social science kan. Okay, so this is from my friends in Kita. PH are unable to control the Sultan and state religious affairs. Yang ni we can't do anything about it. We can only pray. Okay, we cannot go and change the Mufti. Only the Sultan can do that. If they say that I want Mufti with double degrees, not single degrees, alhamdulillah. But so far we just pray je. Okay. And now Islamic civil society NGOs like ABIM and IKRAM must be supported to move the ground. Where are they? Aku tak nampak juga. Reformist Islam students also, if they believe in Islam yang within the nation building concept, must also start to move. Now here for the non-Malays, I ask all the non-Malays, you all please refrain from engaging in Islamic issues provoked by certain people. You menggatal pergi masuk campur macam tu susah lah. Although in democracy you have a right to say it, but you also have a right to be silent. Let the Muslims in your party speak lah. Okay, I think that would lessen the tension. Ya betul lah. In democracy you can say, but it doesn't mean that you say like if your wife says baju ni cantik tak, you can say lah bodoh macam apa, but then don't say lah. You know, you have your diplomatic construct. The more the DMP Chinese speaks, the more ammunition pass. Civil society members must consider the issues that can potentially provide. Civil society satu hal juga. They are good, very important for nation building, but they are using the wrong kind of communication. The communication that they did dulu is still they are using it, and they did not change it. Open-minded Muslims must work hard, hand in hand with other faiths in sharing knowledge, activities, and concern to strengthen trust among them. This is what I message to civil society. We must all the church, temples, mosques yang mana kita find agreeable to work with, we do the thing on the ground. Okay, and then we mediakan dia, and we don't wait for the politician to come and resmikan or things like that. It is our responsibility. This country is our responsibility. Don't say it's the Pakatan Harapan responsibility. Don't say PAS and UMNO tu salah, teruk sangat. What for? That's not the point. You tu buat apa? Okay, so this is the point. Finally, Malaysia, and Islam will be with us forever. So there's no changing that. What is needed? A global Islam. We will talk about a global narrative. What is us in relation to the world, to sustainable development goals and all that. What is Islam in that aspect? Who is supposed to talk about this thing? International Islamic University lah, but tak cakap pun. The Melayu Islam is a narrow-minded construct of selfish. The Melayu Islam is a narrow-minded construct of selfishness, ethnicity, intolerance, and non-acceptance. I call it Melayu Islam because you put race before the ideals of the values of the religion. So the narrative of Islam is a social binder, a nation builder, and a global player of sustainability too. This is what I believe in when I read what the Prophet have said. the move towards reformist Islam must work together in order to paint a different narrative of Islam in Malaysia. And the State Religious Department kita tak boleh buat apa sangat lah. And I think this is basically what I wanted to bring forth to the talk today. So just in conclusion, or a final statement is simply that I think we must understand, both Muslim and non-Muslim, understand what's happening in the country in terms of the various narrative. Don't just listen to, look at your WhatsApp and then dengar your ustaz. You got to do some reading, you got to do your homework. Both people have to do that. If not, you are supporting the wrong kind of Islam for this nation, and you pula on the non-Muslim angry at something that actually can be the solution towards this nation building construct. So today you have to do your homework. You have to do your homework in that sense. The fate of the country now lies with us, not necessarily with Pakatan Harapan. They have opened the freedom, and with freedom comes all these things lah. When I teach my children to be free to talk, and I pun kena marah dengan dia orang, so kena terima lah. So this is something that I wish to bring forth to the talk today, and I hope it has given some food for thought for you, and I look forward to comments and questions from this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Tajuddin, for sharing your enlightened views for this topic. I'm sure all of us in this have much to think or question about regarding each issue that our speaker has shared. However, please wait until the end of the session, because now we will listen to the views of our invited discussant. Okay. So first, I would like to invite Associate Professor of Dr. Ahmad Tarmizi Talib, okay, to discuss about the topic. Alright. So let me introduce about our first discussant. Dr. Ahmad Tarmizi Talib is Associate Professor in the Department of Government and Civilization Studies in our faculty. His field of specialization is Anthropology of Religion. Okay, he received his undergraduate degree from Al-Azhar University Cairo in Islamic study, and also master's degree in University Kebangsaan Malaysia in Anthropology of Religion, and his PhD also in Anthropology Religion from University of Wales, Lampeter, UK. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Ahmad Tarmizi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the organizer to have me here, and also Prof. Tajuddin. Due respect to your field of studies. In my mind, this series of intellectual discourse should be discoursed by the audience more than the discussant, because it could be the discussant have their own opinion, but to me, I don't want to influence the audience with my ideas, although I'm going to throw my ideas. I would like to make it very brief so that the audience can ask and discuss more. Okay. First of all, based on the Islamic narrative that been discussed by Prof. Tajuddin, so I would like to say that it is the versions of religion that you are subscribing. Okay, so all the narratives that been discussed. Okay, so the versions of religion, although you are Shafi'is, it is a mazhab, but within the Shafi'is you have your own versions. And if you're looking from the angle of thought, then they also have versions. Okay? And this one is not only happen in Islam, but in all religions. Okay, for example, Buddhists in southern Thai and Buddhists in northern Thai have different versions of Buddhism. Okay, without saying that in the middle, which is another versions. So the political Islam, for example, so if you are looking from the political angle of Islam, so they have versions. Okay, the problem is how could we bring all the versions into one is one question. Okay, second is it necessary for us to compile all into one and we only subscribe one, or we just leave it the version as it is and you subscribe whatever you want and you are free to say so, but the most important thing is don't blame others. If you start blaming others, it means that your version is only the right one. If it is only one that is right in this world, so the rest is all wrong. Okay? That is the basic things. And coming to the discussion on the religious authorities. So that one is I really disturbed by this kind of action. But I would rather say that understanding religion based on your angle and information that you have is only understanding a pieces of Islam. Okay, for example, when you are coming to the mosque, listening to the tazkirah, listening to the kuliah and so on, and you most probably or most likely to listen the Islamic jurisprudence pieces of Islam. So when you come to the kuliah and you will ask the ustaz, so is it halal or haram? Is it permissible or is it it's not permissible? Okay, so that kind of thing, and it goes on and on. So I think my age is now nearly half 50 tahun sekarang, 50 years, and I still continuing the same pattern of discussing what is permissible, what is not permissible, what is haram, what is halal, who is kafir, who is non-kafir. So, where is our society heading? And who are going to taking care of them? Okay? I was reminded by a community where I did my study a few years back on the southern Thai, whereby the Muslim community categorized as a poor community. Muslim, poor. Muslim, poor. And when I get into the northern part of Thailand, is opposite. The Muslim, rich. And the Muslim, rich. Wherever you find a Muslim, they are rich. So, it is totally the opposite. And what happened in Malaysia with the, I don't know what narrative is that, I'm not past combo kind of, it's more likely that they are going to have a Southern Thai mentality, whereby they've been treated and they're fighting each other and they've done nothing to bring the community to a higher level, and they feel that they are treated, and after 60 years they say that the Malay is still being untreated well, and I don't know who are treated the Malay for the past 60 years. So that is the problem. Okay, so in conclusion, I don't want to take long, but that is disturbing my mind. Is there the need for a Muslim, especially in Malaysia and the other part of the world also, to revisit the Islamic philosophy of underpinning the current version of Islam that you are subscribing? You have your own version, it's fine, okay? But do you have a strong basis of Islamic philosophy that is underpinning your choice? And where are you actually heading to bring the Muslim community? I give a very brief example. Okay, when you are coming to a case whereby you are angry with America, and then you start campaigning or boycotting the McDonald's. Okay, and then after 3 weeks, and then you come back to McDonald's and you eat triples. Okay, I'm not saying that you should eat McDonald's or you should not eat McDonald's. It's up to you. It's your money. It's not my money. But what is the philosophy behind? Okay, we want to boycott the non-Muslim product, for example. Do you think you are able to do so? Okay, forget about your Samsung, and forget about your Apple, and forget about your whatever phone that you have, and then see whether you can live in this world or not. Okay, so Projaludin afraid of putting the phone in the okay, so I just that is just what I come to my mind in response to Prof. Tajudin's point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Ahmad Tarmizi. Now we will listen to the second discussant, Dr. Amini Amir Abdullah. So before Dr. Amini give his speech, give his ideas. So I would like to give some brief idea about Dr. Amini. His first degree is actually in Islamic theology from University of Malaya, and he gained his master degree from University of Science Malaysia in Islamic Studies. His PhD in Islamic Study from University of Birmingham. And then his thesis of the PhD is very interesting. Islamic revivalism in Malaysia, the response of the non-Muslim with special references of the Lembah Kelang constituency. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Amini.
Thank you, Bertajuk. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wal-aqibatu lil-muttaqin. Wala udwana illa 'alal zalimin. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me to our meaningful lecture discourse today to discuss about a very important thing, that is Islamic extremism in Malaysia. And I would like also to thank Professor Tajudin for his brilliant remarks on extremism. There are a few terminologies which was discussed by Prof. Tajudin, especially on kafir harbi, kafir zimmi, and other classical terminologies which has been introduced by traditional ulama or pious people, Islamic pious people of the Middle Ages, such as Al-Mawardi has discussed a lot about kafir harbi and kafir zimmi in his book entitled Ahkam al-Sultaniyah, and other ulama as well. I think obviously the term should be redefined to suit current conditions, current political conditions in our country. And then we must remember, Prof. Tajuddin, that the term kafir or disbelievers was introduced by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran. For example, in Surah Al-Kafirun, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, or you people that reject faith, I worship, not you worship. Nor will you worship that which I worship. Nor will I worship those whom you have worshipped. Nor will you worship, to you be your way and to me mine. So this is very obvious that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has classified human beings as two groups. First, the believers, the mu'mins, the mu'minun. And second, the disbelievers, those who don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to accept that. That terminology was introduced by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran, not by religious scholars or others. So you have to discuss about these terminologies, kafir harbi, kafir zimmi, and kafir, in the light of Al-Quran. In the light of Al-Quran, not from another angle. This is my first remark on Prof. Tajuddin's introduction just now. Second, we have to remember, for example, did LGBT causes some sort of disaster to our country? Yes. What happened to the art groups, ethnic groups in Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His wrath to these people because of practicing deism and also practicing such of deviant teachings from Islam. And Qarun, for example, and other people also before got the wrath of God. That was explained in our Quran, and not by me. So we have to remember the wrath of God for those who disbelieve and those who are practicing LGBT and others. Don't fight for LGBT. It is wrong. Who among you accept LGBT, lesbian, gay, gayism, transgender, and bisexual here? Raise up your hand. Normal people don't accept LGBT. You have to accept that. It is not based on human rights. No, that is not human right. And that is also contradicted to other religions as well. Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Dr. Shanaji is here. Also in Sikhism. So how can you accept? If you don't explain to people that LGBT is haram, then how people will accept your idea? And third is those ustaz. Why do you have to blame those ustaz? There are sort of people of reference to refer religious problem, religious questions to those people. You have to ask them. Yeah, obviously in Islam there are freedom of speech. You can say anything, but you have to refer to those people, not deviated religious teaching, not those deviated ustaz, but the truth ustaz. In our society nowadays there are two kinds of ustaz: those who are deviated from Islamic teachings and those who are not. Why don't you refer to those who are not deviated from religious teachings? What are the role of the ustaz here? In this room also there are too many ustaz. But I cannot say either of them whether they are deviated or not. And fourth, Quran also about Fadil's idea on ukhuwah Islamiyah, ukhuwah diniyah, and ukhuwah wataniyah. Ukhuwah means brotherhood. Yeah, I agree. I agree with Ukhuwah Insaniyah, the brotherhood of insanity. Ukhuwah Diniyah, the brotherhood of religion. And Ukhuwah Wataniyah, the brotherhood of citizenship, the brotherhood of nationhood. Yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, we have to redefine also our efforts of dialogue between faith, dialogue of civilizations. Are we really accept the idea of dialogue of faith, dialogue of civilization, dialogue between civilization or not in our country? How many organizations has done a dialogue in this country? I'm the Vice President of Perkasa. 2 times Prof. Tajudin mentioned about Perkasa. We have initiated a dialogue with Christian groups, you know. Christian Peace of Malaysia. I'm one of them who sat for the dialogue before. And we are not merely an organization responding to controversies only. No. We have our blueprint, we have our planning, we have our implementation, and we have also our monitoring mechanism as well as updating all our efforts on dialogue as well. Because of that, maybe too many non-Muslims are afraid of our organization, that is Perkasa. And third, Prof. Tajudin also mentioned that we need a kind of examination of new opportunities and threats to new and changing trends in Islamism in Malaysia. Yeah, I agree with that. And also, don't suggest strategies in combating extremism in Malaysia. But I would like to define again what is extremism. I think what has forgotten by the presenter to explain is what are the definition of extremism in Malaysia. It's very easy. Extremism is deviant religious group of Islam in this country, such as Qadiani, Ahmadiyya, Ayapin, and others. That's extremism actually. It's well defined. And then others are not extremism, but it is some sort of extreme opinions or extreme actions by other groups, such as what has been explained by Prof. Tajudin. And fourth is the emerging trends of extremism in Malaysia. Emerging trends of extremism in Malaysia. And I agree with Prof. that Muslims should not interfere that non-Muslims should not interfere in the Muslim affairs. Non-Muslims should not interfere in the Muslim affairs. What happened today is because the non-Muslims, too many non-Muslims, are trying to interfere in our affairs. For example, Noor Kami, the Deputy Speaker of Dewan Rakyat, has labelled that the cooperation between PAS and UMNO as Taliban. No, that is not good. Don't interfere with Muslim affairs. And fourth, don't listen to social media and ustaz. Do your homework. That also I agree. Don't listen to the social media, but do your homework. You have to do some sort of readings, referencing, and others. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say here today, please listen to me. First, Tun Mahathir, since 1995, has a kind of idea, a kind of statement. Stop linking Muslims with terrorism. Since 1995. And ladies and gentlemen, we have to recognize Palestine and stop Israel's atrocities to stand a chance of ending terrorism. If you stop this Israelis occupation, then you have settled part of the problem of extremism and terrorism in Islam. I think Prof. Tajudin don't have much time to discuss about international affairs. You see, especially the Palestinians' problem, the Palestinians' problem. Settle the problems of the Palestinians. Then we have settled part of the problems of the Muslims. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Moderators, still we have your time? 5 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, tell me why we are so blind to see that non-Muslims who started the First World War. Tell me why we are so blind to see that non-Muslims who started the Second World War. Tell me why we are so blind to see that Muslims, that not Muslims who killed more than 1 million Jews in the Holocaust. Tell me why we are so blind to see that not Muslims who killed about 20 million of Aborigines in Australia. Tell me why we are so blind to see that not Muslims who sent the nuclear bombs to Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Tell me why we are so blind to see that not Muslims who kill more than 10 million of Red Indians in North America. Tell me why we are so blind to see that not Muslims who kill more than 10 million of Red Indians in South America. Tell me why. That we are so blind to see that not Muslims who took about 180 million of African people as slaves, and 88% of them died and were thrown overboard into Atlantic Ocean. So still you want to accuse Muslims as terrorists. Still you want to accuse Muslims as extremists, as we did discuss today and others. Not Muslims. But we have to redefine terrorism properly. If a non-Muslims does something bad, it is a crime. But if a Muslim commits the same, he is a terrorist. So ladies and gentlemen, let's be fair. Let's be fair. What are we discussing today actually is to try to blame the Muslims, or we want to investigate the truth of Islam. Please, you have to learn Islam properly. You have to understand Islam properly. Then you can understand the Muslims. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Biniamiyatullah. Maybe I would like to ask Prof. Tajudin to give a brief, maybe before we can open to the Q&A. Very much.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to mention from the first discussion that the idea about having a discourse and also about writing, I always want to write from the Malay and from the Muslim perspective, simply because this is the thing that I know. And some people, again, say that, well, it's not really the fault of Muslims or Malays alone, no problem. It's also other people. I say, fine, let other people write lah. Kalau it is from the Chinese or from the Indian, I mean, it's their responsibility to put matters on the table. Okay. Now, for us to say, I feel very uncomfortable to put on a hat of a Chinese or an Indian, because unless you have lived their life and gone through whatever they have gone through, then you can say lah. Okay. So I've gone through living with Chinese and also working with them, studying with them for a certain number of years. So there are some things that I can say, but there are other things that I would not say. So when the first discussion brought about that this is commonality between the Thais and all that, and I'm sure that there is such a commonality. I have always believed that in any conflict resolution, so the two discussions, we must admit that there must be some aspect that we have to look inside ourselves, because the easiest thing to change, say if you're arguing with your wife or with your children, is yourself first. Because that's very easy. You change yourself first. Changing others is very difficult. Almost impossible. Okay? To the point that I think you leave it to Allah to change. You can give all the argument, the rational arguments to my wife and to my doctors, and still they don't listen. Okay? So last kali you just keep quiet or you just ikut aja lah. Yeah. So the point here is that in any conflict resolution, we have to look into ourselves first, and so that's why I have decided to look into the Malays from what my stand perspective, as well as what I understand from Islam. That's number one. Number two, I think one of the problems I feel is about us disagreeing with one another is when we bring history into it. Okay, when you say things like, I think the second discussion says that you look at history, you look at these people and that people, things like that. And I think there are some validity in that if you want to go, let's say, look, the Muslim Perang Salib and all this kind of thing, you can bring all those things, you can bring Palestinian in and things like that. Now, I'm not a student of, political history and stuff, but I do know, alright, that the Perang Salib most probably is not a religious war, it's more political war, somebody's idea of this and that, and it happens again, perhaps also in Palestine and things like that. I'm not saying that we don't pity the Palestinian things like that, but the point here is that if we are to bring history and everything into today, I think we will never end. It's like your own motivation. You go to a motivation class, first rule they say, don't look in the past. Look now, what can you do now? What is it with you now? If you're going to let the past define who you are, you had no control with the past. And the past is a lot of interpretations of events. There is no truth in the past. I mean, in history, there is no such thing as truth. There's only perspective. And unless you want to contend with me that you know the truth about the past, then I would definitely respect you. But the point here is that no one knows perspectives, the reasons and intentions of what happens in the past. We only know events, that these people attack these people kill these people, or what is the intention, what is all these things. We don't know, we can only conjecture. Okay, so that is why when I talked about rewriting history of Malaysia in education, I said, why can't you write a history of which if we have a success of something like Merdeka, then it is a shared success of all. Don't say one race is doing more the work and the others are just behind. But who are you to say things like that? Were you there? And then when major thing happened, don't blame one or two race. I mean, everybody is at fault. I mean, you could create that. I'm sure the Japanese is not teaching their children that they were the colonizers. They were trying to free the Malaya out of the occupation of the Western imperialism, things like that. It's interpretation. Okay, so I think we need to have a discussion of that, and I think to open it would be a good choice.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So now I would like to open for the Q&A. Yeah, Prof. Zaid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih luar negeri dan juga tanya kepada pembentang Prof. Tajudin dan kedua membahas. Put aside my disagreement on your whatever. Cuma saya nak soal dengan saya, I'm just menggunakan istilah Islamic Extremism. Kenapa guna istilah ini? Why do we use this Islamic terrorism? Saya sama dalam negeri atau di luar negeri, di mana-mana saya guna perkataan Islamic militant, Islamic terrorism, because they are not Islamic in the first place. Jadi bila kita guna istilah ini, kita tumpang sama membina naratif yang konstrak, yang mereka yang guna ini sama ada intentionally or unintentionally
menggunakan istilah Islamic Extremism ini, Islamic, whatever Islamic ya, dia guna. Prof. Tajul guna Islamic Architecture kan, you punya discussion banyak dalam soal Islamic, sama ada Islamic atau tidak. Tapi bagi saya kalau nak guna, put in inverted comma, kalaulah itu boleh menimbulkan, nak guna juga. Tapi kalau guna plain macam ini, saya bimbang kita nanti tumpang sekaki, menumpang konstruk yang sudah dibina, membunuh karakter Islam sebagai agama. Saya tidak ada masalah disebut Muslim, sebutlah Muslim. Muslim jahat banyak, yang perangai huduh banyak, Kristian pun banyak jahat, Buddhis banyak, semua banyak jahat. Sebutlah, tak ada masalah pasal orang. Tapi kalau you sandar kepada agama, saya rasa kita perlu berhati-hati. Terima kasih.
Really only not question but response ni. Alright, okay. Any more questions? Yes.
Okay, Assalamualaikum, Prof. Thank you for the great talk. Actually, I would like to ask your opinion and also perhaps your prediction about what will happen after the past UMNO alliance. I'm not going to say about the four because I think the most prominent is the two, the past and also the UMNO. But what is your prediction? Will they survive after perhaps? Because I think at the moment I'm just seeing these two alliances as a way to survive of their political idea. I think that's the only thing that I can say, but I would like to know your opinion on this. Thank you.
Alright, any more questions? Okay, at the back, can you introduce yourself?
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adil Fariza from Infrastructure University Kuala Lumpur. I would like to ask Prof. Dr. Tajuddin regarding the Islamophobia rise since I think the beginning of the idea of a faith to the Islam, okay, as a religion. I think the recent tragedy in Christchurch, I think it kind of in Malaysia we take it as like a season matter, and then this input will raise up the vengeance in terms of the words vengeance to the other races and community. I think it's a way of how Malaysians adapt to this kind of news or tragedy happens. If it's not happening in Malaysia, then they will take it as a seasonal impact. So the second question is the perception of Islam. I think in Malaysia, the current situation is that we are in the different races. So in a way of multiculturalism and harmony within other races, it's been taught previously since Nabi Muhammad SAW. I think we have to look back in such a way that we are, as a human, we have to work together rather than just fighting to each other. I think that's from me. Thank you very much for giving me a chance.
Alright, any more questions? Okay, yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Prof. I have a question. What is Prof' opinion on the return of the ISIS to Malaysia, where Malaysia government offer them to return back to Malaysia? Will it cause or trigger a rise towards the mainstream, further trigger the rise of Islamic extremism in Malaysia? Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Last question, Dr. Silva.
Very good morning to the presenter as well as the rest. My name is Siva, I'm from UK. I was wondering, in your talk, you did not raise the issue of the influence of Salafism and Wahhabism underpinning this Islamic narrative or Muslim narrative. I was wondering, because some scholars have attributed to that, to what extent the particular interpretation or the ideological perspective has influenced the discourse. Thank you.
Alright, I think maybe now we will ask Prof. Tajud to respond all the questions.
First of all, to advice given about Islamic extremism and Muslim extremism. This is an easy question to answer. Thank you for telling me. I'll change it to Muslim extremism next time. Because I also forgot when I talk about Islamic architecture, it's Muslim architecture yung problem tu. When you talk about Islamic, it's different. Thank you very much, Prof. And I think what the Prof said is correct. And I think if we were to use Islamic extremism, then perhaps we will be mendokongi, the narrative to a certain extent. So I accept that. With regards to the second question of past and UMNO, also an easy question to answer. They're not going to survive. They're going to win. Okay. They're going to win, and I think the reading of the previous election, the idea of so-called Pakatan Harapan not fulfilling the manifesto, which would pull away a lot of the disinterested non-Muslim votes, and now MCA is coming into play to chip in over a certain of the vote. And my reading is that they will not win all, but they will win certain number of states to enough for us to have a long problem of the state of our society lah. And that's why I keep giving the impression that in one interview I say I don't really care who wins whatever election it is, Pakatan Harapan ke Barisan Nasional. It's us, we what are we going to do? Who we are. We don't have to listen to these people. If you don't want to listen to Azmin ke Anwar ke we have our own stand, and we can actually do things right here in the university or right there outside in the housing. Janganlah banyak sangat depend on this political party. Although yes, you should be listening to what is happening in the country, but remember, in a democracy, it's your fault. So when my daughter came of age and registered to undi, I said, congratulations Aisha, now everything that is wrong is your fault. Okay? So if you, that's basically rakyat, betul kan? Tak betul kan? It is you yang tak baca, Dr. Arwimi kata, you yang tak widen your thinking, and then susah lah kalau you have head teachers passing on WhatsApp without actually checking the correct things and all that. And I'm most worried about this McDonald business and boycott. Yang anak-anak kita kerja tu dengan siapa? Kan? You going to put out 12,000 budak-budak kita from McDonald? Are you nuts? Yeah. So I mean, this is something tak bolehlah kita nak kata macam tu. So I think the issue here is not about PAS and UMNO. The issue is about us. Kita ni nak buat macam mana? Okay, kalau kita rasa they are giving a narrative which is not sihat, then we should say something and do something, but then be constructive. Janganlah maki hamun orang kan, panggil Taliban ke apa, itu salah. And we don't do this orang kata apa, adab yang tidak baik. Now with regard to the question of Islamic phobia kan, yang Islamophobia kan, Islamophobia kan Muslimphobia, Prof, yang satu Muslimphobia lah kon. So I think again, I'm not saying, people seem to think that Prof Tajul ni asyik boleh mau Melayu je. I kata, I punya filosofi is very simple. First, tengok diri sendiri. That's all I've been doing. And bila tengok diri sendiri, kita ubah diri sendiri. Alright, yang orang lain nak ubah tu, dia punya hal lah, tunggu dia lah. There's no way, but you have to wait. You cannot force people. If you force people, then banyak benda menjadilah. So a lot of Islamophobia, Muslimphobia tu is I think if you look rationally, banyak a lot of it with us. When I talk about architecture, I used to give this image of the Washington Mosque Islamic Center in Washington DC. I say, why are they using the Egyptian style? Why are they not putting in contact with the neoclassical style? Because Washington DC is a neoclassical style, and all the modern development, because in architecture we study to be in context. why not neoclassical? Now, of course, the Muslims in America will say, oh, this freedom of religion and this one is non-Muslim style, and then we don't follow lah neoclassical style. So, macam tu, you have to go and see Sultan Abu Bakar in Johor because the mosque of Sultan Abu Bakar is in neoclassical style. So is the mosque in Johor less Islamic than the mosque in Washington DC? It is not. Islam is the easiest religion to understand and to adapt. There is no such thing. The problem is when you construct and put your box and then you stay within the box and do not look at outside, and that's the issue. So I think the question about perception of Islam today is what about perception? Yeah?
Is about the recent perception of Malaysia. Suddenly, in any cause or event throughout the world, suddenly how Malaysians accept it with the current situation of multiracial in Malaysia. We start to, it's like we've been traced and we've been triggered to respond to this situation in extreme way. For example, in the social media, people start talking and posting about the Christchurch tragedy and all. So this one becoming it's like a seasonal event. So that's how Malaysian perception of Islam is. Is it that way?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Islam in Malaysia is to the point of bombing church and mosque and things like that. I think we are all nice people in Malaysia, regardless orang PAS ke orang UMNO, semua nice. Tak ada issue about not being nice. Now, what we have opportunities which everybody has, and the most we have, when I agree with Mahathir, we are not educated. See, although we went to university, but we are not educated. And yang tu I agree dengan Mahathir. And I always said that in universities, is that what you have is artificial intelligence. You see. Okay, in architecture, in engineering, in a lot of things. Because what you learn is simply imitate the practice of architecture or engineering, imitate the practice of, and the other one is to only comprehend certain what we call information and experience. Knowledge is only when you have structured it, you have certain values attached to it, things like that. It's a different way. What we have is people imparting experience, imparting information, and practice. Tiga tu je, and then jadi architect or jadi engineer. So that's why when the question comes, will artificial intelligence take over graduates? Yes lah, because that's what you learn, artificial intelligence. So why use you? You just use the computer. Young, not artificial intelligence, people like me and Mimi and all that, the computer cannot replicate people with attitudes, opinions, and stands. It cannot. Okay, humans can do that. So I think the perception is that we should actually just look at our own society, and then the idea of the others looking at us in this way or that way entirely depends on how we want to bring the nation forward. Remember, all of us have a role in nation building. Noor Ibrahim and Mahathir Mohamad and all this thing. Every single one of us now with this thing is the most powerful tool in your hand. To make people understand, to make people hate each other. This thing up here, but this thing up here should govern this thing here, and then. But what are we doing about that? I mean, critical mind and such. I think the last one was about the I'm not sure about ISIS. Yeah? I asked for clarification. Is it the Muslim Brotherhood or what? The Egyptian?
Yeah, he went to Syria.
Yes, well, that one, I don't really read much about that. I heard about this Islamic Brotherhood thing with the Nurul Izzah and all that sort of thing. But for the, okay, so we have now perhaps people, I know there are Malays, kasar tak ada tu, who went to do the so-called jihad in ISIS and all that, and perhaps some of them are coming home. This is really a cause of concern because taking up arms is not part of our culture so far. I mean, unless you take away May 13. And I think this one is for the special branch. Okay, I think the police, however ineffective they are in a lot of things, and I have a lot of criticism on them, but on this matter, I think we can trust them on that. I feel quite safe in that regard. I do feel a problem when police come to you when you write a book about something. That one I have a problem with lah. Okay, but with this so-called people with the idea of taking arms, I think the police should be okay on that. Okay. Oh yes, that's also another easy question to answer. Number one, I don't know much about the history, background of Salafism and Wahhabism as so many people are doing this. Now, what I'm telling you is simply that when I read the Prophet's hadith, 3,000 of them from Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi and all that, I find myself following a lot of what the Prophet said. And so when Wahhabism ataupun the Arabs, when they don't celebrate the Maulid Rasul, right? I also don't. I don't celebrate it. I don't see it as and because why? The Prophet never celebrated his birthday, never asked anybody to celebrate his birthday. I'm not saying that you cannot do that. I just don't celebrate. Now, Muslims make a big show of remembering the Prophet every year, but they don't remember the Prophet every day. I make it a point to remember the Prophet every day of my life, and not just that one single year. Not to say I'm biased. I mean, what you see me say in the manner that I say is all a product of what I have read and what I have thought, and that is about as far as I understand. So there is a little bit of Salafism in me, there is a little bit of Wahhabism in me, but to put someone in, say, Dr. Asri is Salafist or Wahhabist, and I think it's not good. I mean, Asri, 95% of the time I agree with the thing that he said, and Dr. Asri Zainal Abidin. The 5% I tak setuju lah. When he stand against the Indians, against Waitamurti, against Rahmat Sabni, I disagree. Manner he talks, things that he says, I disagree. But I respect him for many views, and people say he's Wahhabi, and therefore tak boleh ikut. And his car was torched one of these days. I don't know who did that. And because maybe one of the imams or the people which he did not reappoint at the surau and the masjid, but I don't get involved in this discussion about Salafis and Wahhabi, because as a Muslim I just use the Prophet as my guide.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm afraid that that's all the time that we have today. But I think we had a very good topic, because we also have a very critical and constructive opinion from the speaker, also from the discussant. So many things to ponder, I guess. So we are actually organizing an interactive discourse, a platform for academic discussion, and we are free to agree and disagree. Okay, so I think we hope that we don't have any much thing to. I mean that we have to think deeply about this topic, I believe. So whatever it is, we still live in a peace and harmonious society, but conflict resolution is something that maybe we have to think how to resolve the conflict between ethnic groups or religions in the country. The question of Islamic narrative, or maybe we have to change it to Muslim narrative, or we should call it Malay narratives. Okay, so very important for us to have a very deep thought. With that kind of remarks, I think we have to say thank you to Professor Muhammad Tajuddin Omar Asri, to Associate Professor Dr. Maktar Mizi Talib, and also to Dr. Amini Amir Abdullah. So with that, I hand over to the MC. Thank you.
Let us give a very round of applause. Okay, before we end the session, I would like to call upon our Professor Dr. to present the token of appreciation to the director and bersama.